What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kinda Funny Xcast, your home for all things Xbox here at Kinda Funny. I'm one of your hosts, SnowBikeMike, and this week I am joined again by the whole gang. We're all back. We're excited as can be. And let me tell you what, when I look at these two guys' faces, I get energized, I get amped up, and I get excited to talk all things Xbox and, of course, video games, because that's what brings us all together. And this week, we're going to celebrate, guys, okay? We're going to celebrate. We're going to talk about fun memories. We're going to talk about iconic moments within the Xbox world. But before that, we got to say what up to each other. So, Parris Lilly, how you doing? Welcome back, my friend. Nice to see your smiling face. How was your week of playing games and hanging with the family?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. Commander Shepard is reporting for duty, so it has been a fantastic week of playing games, but I've really only been playing Mass Effect, so that's been my week. But everything's been good. So how are you doing?
I'm good, Parris. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to talk a little Mass Effect with you. We'll get into it right after we introduce Gary, and we'll ask what you've been playing. But man, oh man, Parris, I'm excited to have this conversation. So I'll put a pin in it because I do want to talk with you about this sci-fi epic. But of course, the man who writes sci-fi epics, the man who has been around the globe talking about Commander Shepard before, my dude, Gary Whitta. Gary, how are you? It's good to see you again.
Hello, I am Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel. You know how much I love doing this podcast for you guys. In fact, last week, and I apologize to you just before the show. I'm sorry, I bailed out last week, as you know, with only an hour or so to go before we had to go live. It was very rare for me, but I had a really bad headache, just came out of nowhere and kind of just laid me out. You know what it's like when you get a headache like that, just knocks you out flat. And I was in bed feeling sorry for myself while you were recording, but I felt bad. As bad as I felt about just the headache, I felt worse. I was missing doing the podcast because I enjoy, it's one of the highlights of my week, Kinda Funny, and this are two things that I look forward to doing every week. So I'm sorry, I missed last week, but I'm excited to be back, make up for lost time, and talk about all things Xbox.
Awesome, Gary. We're really excited to have you back, and it's nice to have the gang back together, right? It's one thing, like Gary just said, I look forward to it every single week to not only talk with you guys about Xbox, but also to hear our friends from around the community, right? Parris, we see so many of these cool content creators put out their podcasts, put out their YouTube videos, and it's my favorite. I know on Saturday, I'm going to check out the Xcast. I know on Saturday afternoon, I'm going to go check out the Xbox 2 podcast. Now I'm going to go check out Colt Eastwood and his podcast on Monday. I'm going to find Parris on a Tuesday in Twitter Spaces, right? I'll listen to podcasts unlocked. And the list just continues to go on. And it's truly my favorite to see all of them and to celebrate their hard work. So thank you, Gary, for coming back. It's nice to have you. Let's jump into what we've been playing this week, because I have
really quick. We just need to address it. Xbox popping off so much that Andy wanted to pop into this episode.
I saw that he stuck his head in the door, and I think he realized he got the wrong room, and then kind of shamefully backed away quietly.
Well, you know what it is he knows we're about to talk Mass Effect, and if you remember, our good friend Parris and Andy got to go to the Mass Effect preview event together. They put out a great first impressions here on Kinda Funny Games, and now we're getting to live the legend right now. We're reliving the legend. Parris, I'll start with you. I mean, this is your game. You're pumped up about this. How's it going right now? Where you at?
Oh, it's great. I've started to assemble the Dirty Dozen so that we can go to the Omega 4 relay. But no, it's great. It's bringing back everything what I loved about this game back in 2010. Because I guess let me be upfront. I skipped straight to Mass Effect 2. I have not played Mass Effect 1. I have not played Mass Effect 3. I went straight to 2 because it's in one of my top 3 games of all time. So I just wanted to dive right back into that. And it was interesting because now I'm not importing my Mass Effect 1 character. I had to go through the whole comic, and you have to answer the questions on the choices that you made. So I tried to make sure I still did all the choices that I had when I originally played. And then going in and created my Fem Shep, did all that. I think I put a picture on social media earlier, but it's been a lot of fun. It's fun. The only thing is the controls feel slow to me compared to modern games now. I had to kind of adjust to that a little bit, but once I got used to it, it was fine. I mean, just the story, everything. Oh, it was funny because my wife was watching me play, and she was commenting on the lip syncing. She goes, "Why is the lip syncing off?" I go, "It's always been off. I was ready for this coming into it, you know." But that would probably be my only nitpicks. I mean, graphically, playing it at 4K. I've been playing it on the Series X, 4K. It's at 60 frames. You know, buttery smooth, good. You know, everything about it looks great. The fact that this is a 2010 game and I'm playing it in 2021 and I feel it holds up pretty much. I mean, you know, you see some things here or there that you could tell, you know, they would have changed, you know, if this game came out now. But for the most part, it's great. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. And I think I'm more excited for new people to play it than I am myself. And to see, because I've already started to see some people talk on social media about playing it and, oh wow, I never played this before, this is my first time, and just I'm thinking about, oh, I can't wait till they get to this moment and they experience this, or this happened, or they have to make this choice with this character. All these things are going to happen, you know, throughout the trilogy, and I'm excited to see it. Huge fan of the entire Mass Effect series. And you know, I tell everyone every time, Mass Effect 2 is one of the greatest games ever made. Please experience it. You will enjoy yourself.
Are you Paragon or a Renegade, Parris?
Renegade. Absolutely.
Okay.
Vanguard,
that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, Vanguard, Renegade, Earthbound. That's my whole origin. Ruthless too.
I love that, and I love feeling the enthusiasm and hearing it in your voice, Parris, because we've talked about it with backwards compatibility and then these remasters, right? It's like a new audience now gets to experience what we've all known and loved, and it's like really cool to share that experience with newcomers too. Gary, big release coming up. Are you excited for Mass Effect? Where do you fall on this?
I've already got it installed. I'm very excited about it. But the funny thing is, and I'm with Parris and Andy and all the other kind of Mass Effect diehards out there. Parris isn't wrong when he says that Mass Effect 2 is one of the greatest games ever made. It really is. And I would add to that the Mass Effect trilogy. I didn't play Andromeda, but the Mass Effect trilogy is one of the greatest acts of world building in video games. Like the Mass Effect universe is just phenomenal. All the different races, the cultures, the planets, the politics, the history. I very rarely do this. In fact, I almost never do it. But with Mass Effect, I read every single codex entry on every planet, and I read the whole Mass Effect like encyclopedia. Read all of it because it's so fascinating. And I just find it, and they did such an amazing job of writing and creating and layering all the nuances of that universe. It's just a fun place. It's just a fun universe to go get lost in. Like, forget about playing a game. It's just a place you go and you become immersed in this world. And it's just so vast and there's so much to do. And there's such a great sense of freedom and agency. The funny thing is about it, after I installed it, I fully intended to like get all the way back into it, and I'm going to. But I had this weird moment of hesitation right after it installed where I was about to jump in. And unlike Parris, my intention is to play through it all chronologically. Mass Effect 1 to 2 to 3. Because I think that's part of the fun of this remaster release is you don't have to wait years between the episodes, right, to tell the full story. You can do a box set binge. Now, it's going to take a long time. All 3 games, you're not going to knock them all out in a weekend, right? You can't do it in one sitting or one epic session, but you can play them, or you could, if you block out the time, you could do the whole Mass Effect trilogy over the course of probably a few weeks of play sessions. And that seems like a really fun experience to see because they, the beautiful thing about it is they all, dovetail. And there are critical choices that you have to make towards the end of Mass Effect 3 that go all the way back to shit you did in Mass Effect 1, and all of that stuff copies over. Your Shepard goes from, your save game goes from 1 to 2 to 3, and it remembers all the stuff that you did. And it's just phenomenal. And I really wanted to go back and do it. And then I had this weird moment of hesitation where I was like, it was a similar thing for World of Warcraft. I have so many fond memories of when I used to play World of Warcraft back in the day. Then when World of Warcraft Classic came out, everyone said to me, "Oh, you're going to go back and play it?" And I was like, "No, I'm actually kind of happier just leaving my memories kind of preserved, in amber. Like I don't want to I don't want to go back and like open that treasure box. I'm happy to keep my memories of that game the way they are, as just like a special memory to me, and leave it in the past." And I almost had a similar fear about Mass Effect, and it stopped me from. I was like, man, maybe I should just leave my memories of Mass Effect the way they are. I don't know. I got a little bit scared of going back and revisiting it because those memories are so special to me. The time that I spent in the Mass Effect universe, but I'll get over it, and I am going to play it. I don't remember Mass Effect 1 terribly well, because it is the oldest one.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to go back and play it. I'm excited to go full Renegade, which I only ever did in one of the trilogy games before, but it's so much fun It's so much fun to be a total dick because you can like if you lean all the way into Renegade, your Shepard is a total asshole, just like the worst. And I played like a slightly forked version of him, which was even more horrible. Like my Shepard in Mass Effect 2 and 3 was basically an asshole to everybody except anyone he thought he might be able to have sex with, and he was always like super nice to them. So he was just like a total dick, just an absolute dickhead. And it's so much fun to play. That's so delicious. You know, they always say it's more fun to play the bad guy, you know, and playing Renegade is fun because you get to do both. You're the hero no matter what, but you do get to make these horrible decisions. You become almost like an anti-hero version of Shepard. And you'll know this, Parris, one of the really fun things about Mass Effect 2 is depending on how you play him, it actually affects his physical appearance. So if you go full Renegade, his face kind of gets more and more messed up. Yep. As like, because they do all this facial reconstruction on him after Mass Effect 1, and he has all these like implants and stuff, and like I think like an artificial eye, and he becomes almost like like this Terminator side of his face starts to kind of come through as like all the malignant decisions that you make like start to kind of manifest on his face, and he becomes like a living embodiment of like just how messed up he is. And so it's also much fun, and certainly 4K 60 and everything. I think I am going to go back and do the whole trilogy full Renegade. It's a big time. All three of those games back to each one of those games is very big. All three back to back, that's a big time commitment. But I love Mass Effect so much. I'm really excited to see for myself just what all the new 4K 60 frame enhancements look like. It looks like they really did do a lot of work on it. So I'm gonna jump in. I just wanted to point out that I had that weird moment of hesitation where I'm like, I don't know, maybe my memories of these games are so precious. Maybe I just want to leave them the way they are. I mean, I don't know. Do you have anything like that, Parris? Did you feel like going back and revisiting the game in this remastered edition did it change the way you historically kind of felt about those games, going back and playing them again?
Well, like I said, I just went straight to 2, so I've actually not looked at 1 at all. So for me, it just kind of reminded me why I love that game so much. Yes, like I said, it does look a little dated, but I knew that going in, so I was expecting that, and that's fine. It's interesting, though, if I could pivot just a little bit, because you brought how Mass Effect, just this world that BioWare built, this sci-fi world, I don't think anyone has done that since, right? Like from scratch, where there isn't any previous history, a book they're attaching it to, anything. This is a brand new universe that they created, and it's very deep at the same time with just a lot of the things that they could potentially explore when they reboot the franchise again and continue Mass Effect. But it reminds me, if I go back to 2007, I was at E3. This was Santa Monica E3, and at the old Viceroy Hotel. And I got a behind closed doors look at Mass Effect 1, and seeing that it was a scene that was like on the Citadel, and it was a whole dialogue tree and just talking. And I just remember how revolutionary that felt to me at the time, that dialogue tree, and just the cinematic feel to it, and you getting to make all these different choices. And it was like right there on the spot. That's when I just fell in love with Mass Effect. And obviously the Mass Effect 1 came out later that year. And then just going to 2, I just felt like it just took everything that Mass Effect 1 did right, improved on it, and also the things that Mass Effect 1 didn't get right, they fixed and brought this action sci-fi RPG that had a story with character development, emotional moments, that by the time I hit that Omega 4 relay, I mean, my heart was racing the first time I went through there, because I didn't want anyone to die. I didn't know what was going to happen. Everyone had to survive, and they didn't my first run, unfortunately. But then I had to go back and make sure I got it where everyone survived. And that's why Mass Effect is just so special to me, because like you said, Gary, they created something out of nothing. This was all new things. And it's almost a shame when you look at Andromeda not hitting the way that it should have, because we should have Mass Effect in our lives. I mean, like, I'll just pivot it to Destiny. Like I said, Destiny's been around 7 years now, and they're continuing to build on it. I wish Mass Effect was still around right now, and they were building upon what these first 3 games did, than what Andromeda was attempting to do. But instead, things happen, and now, we have to wait again. But I'm happy to see this happen, like I said before, because there's so many people out there that have never played it. Again, my kids, as an example, have never played it. So my son was kind of looking around like, "Oh, what is that?" I go, "It's Mass Effect. You should play it." I'll check it out. We'll see it. I was like, "No, trust me, you want to play this." So I'm excited for him to jump in and check it out as well. But I'll just say, for people that have not played this game or this trilogy, you're in for a treat. You just are. I think it's a fantastic sci-fi story.
That's the other thing as well. I mean, we're obviously looking at this through the lens of like original fans who are revisiting the game. But the nice thing about this remaster is I think it will introduce it to a whole new generation of, I'm just going to call them youngsters, because that's what people my age call them.
Youngsters. What up?
Youngsters, young whippersnappers like Barrett here. Who the Mass Effect's not that old, but it's old enough. There's a whole generation of kids that have now come up, after the most, the last one that anyone cared about, which was Mass Effect 3. And so, it's in the rear view for them. But now this remaster puts it back front and center. And of course, all part of BioWare's master plan, I'm sure, kind of refreshes the franchise in lieu of the new game that, I'm sure we're all excited. The new Mass Effect game is probably God knows how far away it is. Hopefully we'll hear more about it, coming up later this year, E3 or whatever. But that would be my most anticipated game. That at least is on the radar. GTA 6, who knows? But like the next Mass Effect would be probably my most anticipated game that has already been announced. So I love the fact that it's going to reach a new audience. I love the fact it's been given this new lick of paint. Again, to echo what Parris just said, yes, absolutely one of the greatest acts of cinematic world building in a video game. And the character, like every character, you love it. One of the reasons why it's so painful when Mass Effect 2, when you go through the relay and if you didn't do everything right, you start losing characters. It really hurts when someone dies because you spent 50 hours with these guys and you've developed a relationship. Maybe you've slept with them. You've done, who knows what you've done. You've gotten to know these characters, and then the game does such a great job of building up, making you care about these characters, and then taking them away from you. And it's like, no, I won't spoil it, but there's a thing at the end of Mass Effect 3 that I threw the controller down and walked in because I was so angry at the storytelling, but like in a good way, because it put me in such an impossible position. And it was actually a thing where the choice that I wanted to do wasn't available to me because of a choice I had made back in Mass Effect 1. And my past came back to haunt me. And I actually got the worst possible end. I went and looked. It was the worst possible version of the ending for that particular substrand of storytelling. And I was so pissed because those were some of the characters that I cared about the most. So the game has that incredible ability just to make you care, about the characters and about the story, and really kind of invest you in kind of the living, breathing nature of that world. I really can't say enough great stuff about Mass Effect.
Oh, I'll say one last thing. The Shadow Broker DLC, some of the best DLC.
Best DLC ever.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So again, these people that have not played Mass Effect, the youngsters that are coming in, I'm telling you, in for a treat.
I'm excited. I like sci-fi, and I'm not as big of a nerd as Andy is when it gets into like the nitty-gritty of the lore, but I think I saw like Joey put up a screenshot of her starting it, and I don't know what it was, but like her, like someone else who like hasn't played these games, like that got me excited to like boot it up tonight and start this journey and see if I stick with it. Like I want to at least get to 2 because I know 2 is the one that everybody holds up, and so I want to at least start that off and stuff like that. So. And
just one other final shout out to the music. Some of the best music in
the music is
as soon as you hear it, you're right back there. It's one of those tunes that, like, as soon as I hear the first opening bars of it, I'm like, oh, Mass Effect, take me away. I'm so happy about it.
The excitement, the smiles, the memories you guys bring up. It's just so exciting. I have my popcorn out. I'm starting to play through 1 right now, and it's just so much fun to relive the legends like they put on the box art, right? Like, that's the truth. This saga is so special to so many gamers, and it's a blast. So I'm glad to hear you guys' enthusiasm. I'm happy to be back, and we'll check in with Barrett and see what he says next week. That's really cool to hear him jumping into it. I actually have been playing a different game along with Mass Effect. So one of my most anticipated games of the year, a multiplayer game, as many of you know, that I love to look out for with me and my friends, is Hood, Outlaws, and Legends. And it's not what I wanted, unfortunately. It's a little unimpressive, not the hottest thing, and I might put it into the Rolodex of multiplayer games. It's definitely not going to take the precedence over other games that we've been playing. And it's also not going to be one that we're looking to go back to right away. So if you don't know what Hood, Outlaws, and Legends is, it's a 4v4 PvP VE heist third-person class-based combat game by Focus Home Interactive, set in the Robin Hood universe. And it was a really cool concept and idea of 2 teams trying to steal a key, jumping in and looking for the treasure chest within this cool castle, and then trying to extract it. And when you first play it, it actually is a good time. You're like, wow, this is a really cool idea. We're stealthing in. It looks like Assassin's Creed almost, where you're hiding in bushes and you're using teamwork to take down guards stealthily and without drawing a lot of noise. And then you go in to the main castle where you're looking for what is the sheriff. That's NPC, that's non-killable. He's super badass, he's clunky, and he'll kill you in one shot. And your goal is to sneak up behind him and steal the key. And then you go look around the castle for the room where you'd get the treasure. And it's really fun at first. You think to yourself, this is really cool. There's 4 classes I can choose from a ranger to a mystic that's kind of a support character to the big John with the hammer, and of course, an awesome stealth character. And it feels good at first, but it quickly devolves into forget stealth, let's just bang on each other. And it just loses all of the fun. It loses the magic. And what happens is because stealth gets thrown out the window, you just run into each other, whether it be you and NPCs or you and the other team, and you just light attack, heavy attack all day long until one of you die. And it devolves so much, Parris and Gary, that me and my team just decided to be the tank character. So now instead of being the cool ranger or being the awesome stealth character or the mystic, we're just running around as 4 Johns with a giant hammer, and we're looking for a fight. We're not looking to hide in bushes. We're not looking to be stealth. We just run straight at you and hope to God that we swing faster than you do. And we've played about 7 hours of it, which has come to about 20 plus matches. And it has been hard. It's been like pulling teeth to even get my friends interested in playing it after night number 1. There's only 5 maps. It quickly becomes repetitive where there is no other game modes. You have to play online if you want to play against other people. You have to have 8 actual people in the lobby. Will not start before or without enough people in there. And so it was just kind of sad to see a game that I was really excited for not live up to what I thought. Of course, yes, I was provided a code by Focus Home Interactive to check it out, but it's a multiplayer game. So I bought all of my friends a version of the game with $30 each. So I bought them all a game. So we're into this game about $90 deep, and we are not going back, which is the unfortunate part. And I actually didn't see much traction on social media. A lot of the big gaming sites weren't covering it, and IGN just put up their review last night. And Travis Northup, I really encourage you to go check him out over on IGN. His review, he gave it a 6 out of 10, and he actually wrote down word for word what me and my friends felt. And it was crazy to see him see the idea of like, oh, this is a cool concept. I like the idea of the classes. I like the game idea. And then to, oh, wait, we're just going to battle. I might as well be the 4 Johns. Or, man, I can't keep playing the same 5 maps over and over again with the one game mode. And then it was just kind of feels good to see that somebody else saw that, but it's too bad because it was a really cool idea. The game actually looks really, really good. And so I'll quickly just read his final paragraph here, the verdict. He says, Hood Outlaws and Legends is a stealth action game with an interesting PvPvE premise that leads to some exciting moments of chaos when well-planned heist goes awry. Its downfall, however, is its balanced rewards, hacking and slashing over stealth and planning. Even if you embrace that, there just aren't enough maps to sustain the single mode for more than a handful of hours before things become repetitive. So I wanted to share that because I know a lot of people have been on the fence on this. It's got a $30 price tag, and it's fun because we're going to talk about a game later on that's coming day and date to Game Pass that is just right up the alley of what this should have been. And so I would have loved to known if Xbox and Microsoft reached out to this team and if the deal ever went south or what they couldn't agree upon, or if they didn't reach out. Because if this game was on Game Pass, I think we would have had a different conversation about it, and there would have been a little more traction. But tough to see Hood Outlaws and Legends have a bad start for me and the team over there. But, it's one of my most anticipated games. Had to give it a try, and it will go in the Rolodex, but very far in the multiplayer Rolodex.
Now, important question is, do they have the Disney skins? Do they have the Disney animated versions of these characters? Because honestly, that's what would get me in, Mike. Damn it. Okay.
No, they do not. Because I guess when you look into it, the IGN article by Travis had a good one of like, it is supposed to be, or Kotaku also wrote about it, it is supposed to be Robin Hood, right? So like each character is like supposed to be a Robin Hood character, right?
Yeah.
Friar John and all those people. But like it doesn't have any of that. It's just unfortunate it just doesn't hit.
If I could play as the Fox version of Robin Hood, that'd be 10 out of 10.
You'd be in.
Yeah.
Mike, let me ask you this, because you mentioned that you got a code, but then you dropped about $90 buying copies for your friends so you could play together.
Yeah.
Obviously, these days we're very fortunate, right? Because we get a lot of codes for games, and obviously with Game Pass, most of the time these days we're not really thinking about incurring like a per game price for a video game, right? Either we get a code or it's on Game Pass, and there's some games we do go out and buy. In a case like this, where you drop like $90 on it, but you're not really feeling it, does the fact that you spent good money on it make you feel like you got to persevere with it a little bit more? Like you got to get your money's worth out of it before you decide it's not for you? Because like with a Game Pass game or a game where I get a code, if I'm not feeling it, I'll just walk away, right? Life's too short. My time's valuable. I'll go find the next game. But I remember when I was a kid, when I bought a game and that was the game that I'd saved my pocket money on to buy that week, even if the game sucked, I was going to get my money's worth out of it. Do you know what I mean? I just wonder if it's a similar thing with Hood, where maybe if you hadn't dropped that money, you might have walked away a little sooner.
My friends feel that. They feel bad that I bought them these gifted games, because I
didn't
didn't
a fruit basket or something.
I wanted to play this game really bad, right? I said it was one of my most anticipated games. I was eager, I was excited, but I wasn't going to go in alone, because going in alone, it is not a good situation. You got to go in with at least one or more friends. And I think you could tell they feel bad because all of them don't want to play it anymore after night number 1. And they were like pulling teeth to get to night number 2. And it wasn't like, hey, I want to make sure I get my money's worth. But you could tell they were like, yo, we got to make sure we get our money's worth here, because that was $30. And we played 3 hours or 4 hours the first night, and we would have uninstalled it right there and then. So it's one of those. We keep talking about Game Pass, and especially for me in the multiplayer world, Game Pass goes a long way, because it is very tough to sell your friends on these multiplayer games that, aren't going to take over the world like a Fortnite or a Call of Duty, and they're going to be right there in the middle. A perfect example coming up is Knockout City. We talked on this after I saw the preview event of like, I like this game, but, for a $20 to $30 price tag, I don't know if I can convince all four of my friends to buy this. Now it's on Game Pass. That's actually a really good
point, Mike. And obviously on the podcast here, we've sung the praises of Game Pass like every which way, right? Every angle, we've discussed it. Except I don't know how much we've actually talked about that, but that is a good point. When a multiplayer game comes along, you got a game that you're super excited about, but again, you got to get like a whole crew to play with you, and maybe some of the people you'd want to play with, they're not as hard on I don't know, it's $50. I don't know if I really want to take the risk. Like you're all in, but your friends have got to be all in as well. Otherwise, you don't have a crew. Then that's one of the other nice thing about Game Pass. If you're all on it, you don't have to worry about taking that risk. Just install. I think it's probably easier to convince a group of friends to take a flyer on trying a game with you if they're not actually dropping money to give it a try. If it's just to click the install button. Maybe that's a good point as well for multiplayer games. Maybe easy to assemble crews when they're on Game Pass, and you aren't asking friends to kind of take that financial risk along with you.
100%. I think we see a great one in Outriders, right? Outriders came and went, but me and my crew got to play that together, and we had an absolute blast. Now everybody's looking forward to Knockout City. Full crossplay, gonna be day one on Game Pass. You got a fun event that they're gonna release on day one, and it's like easy to convince you and your squad to do that. Because yeah, Gary, it is the fun conversation of, hey, I'm really interested in this game. Is anybody else? And when there's no reviews, there's not much coverage leading into it, right? And it becomes a big question mark. And we've learned our lesson. I think all gamers know pre-ordering games, buying games day one without you actually making an informed decision and just wanting to be part of the conversation can really burn you sometimes. And so a game like this, it was tough because, we all would have been burned if, I didn't really want this. I would have said we would have been burned on this.
I'm actually really hoping that Knockout City is good. I'm so excited about the concept of me playing it with my kid who likes those kind of goes. She loves Splatoon. We've talked about how it has a little bit of that vibe. I can see her on her Nintendo Switch, me on the Xbox, and we'll roll together as a crew. If that we talk about it a lot. If Knockout City is good, I think it could be really good. You know what I mean? I just feel like there could be something. I really want Knockout City to be a home run because, on the face of it, if it's good, oh man, the fun we could have with it. I want to be optimistic about that one. When is it coming out? How long do we have to wait for that one now?
I believe May 20th, next week. I think
soon, like a week away. All right, let's get in. All right, a week from today. No, a week from today. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Parris, what are some of your thoughts on that? Do you feel what I'm feeling there with the multiplayer and Game Pass? What do you think?
No, I do. And Gary, we talked about this a little bit last week as far as the Game Pass aspect of this. So I'll try to not repeat myself too much other than to say you're 100% correct, Mike, in that there's games that are kind of in that middle of the road where do you get it? Do you not get it? And then when you have your buddies, maybe you're convinced, but your buddies are not convinced. That's a lot of coin to drop on something that you hope is okay. And then in the scenario you just said with Hood, you guys tried it, not for you. Now what? You're out of $90 basically, right? So again, I understand people, oh, you guys talk about Game Pass too much, but I'll say this, as a parent, this is another reason why I love it, because like you talk about us looking at previews and reviews and all that, my kids don't do that. My kids go, ooh, that looks cool, I want it. And then they play it for an hour and go, oh, wait, it's not good. But I'm the one that just spent $60, not them. So this, again, is what we're talking about. It's the being able to try something and see if it's for you. If it's not, like Gary said, you just move on. You move on and find something that is for you. So you talk about Knockout City. I tell you right now, I probably would not buy that at standalone. Forget us getting review codes and all that. If I had to go buy it, I probably wouldn't do it. But because it's on Game Pass, I will at least try it. And that's the whole point that I think all of us have been trying to say. It's not about a thing of we think this subscription service is going to end the world and completely disrupt the market. It's not. You can still go buy games the same exact way you always have. And I think that's what people need to understand. It is just a brand new avenue to engage with games. And what I think we're really going to see is developers embrace this more so than consumers, in the fact that it lessens some of the risk for them. If they can make these deals with Microsoft and get some upfront security about these quote unquote middle of the road games, put them on their service, like we talk about Outriders, at least we all tried Outriders, right? We all played it. We all had fun with it. We all had our opinions on it. Hey, look, the technical issues they're having now, it is what it is. But at least we tried it, because I think it was Mike, you said you probably would not have gotten Outriders if it wasn't for Game Pass. And that's the whole point. You know, we even talk about MLB The Show, bringing it to new platforms. You have it on Game Pass. It allows a new audience to at least try it. And, you know, let's be honest. How many people are talking about MLB The Show right now? Not a lot. And, you know, it is what it is. But pretty sure a lot of people at least tried it that first week. Some people stuck with it. Some people didn't. And you know, and they moved on. But yeah, I just think we're in this weird spot right now where there is starting to be a shift on how we engage with our games and our expectations from it. And there's still obviously the traditional way that a lot of people will continue to do. But then there's going to be people that want to say, hey, I want to have this subscription service because it allows me to engage with more things that I just absolutely never would have played. Again, the example of Hood. Sorry, Mike, it was never on my radar, so I never would have tried it. If it was on Game Pass, I would at least probably would have tried it. You know, I
want to take this opportunity to address this whole thing about how much we talk about Game Pass, because I have noticed that I'm become quite self-conscious about this. I just did it like 5 minutes ago, and I've been doing it for a while now. Every time I talk about Game Pass, I always almost feel like I need to apologize. I go, oh, I know we talk about Game Pass all the time. Sorry, everyone, as if like I'm kind of sheepish about it, but I shouldn't be, and I'm not. And in fact, I retract all my former apologies. I renounce them all, because
good job, Gary.
Here's the thing. Game Pass at this point is such a central pillar of like what Xbox is, right? It's so deeply tied into their business strategy and everything that they do. Like, it's almost like Xbox is Game Pass and Game Pass is Xbox at this point. It's so fundamental and so core to what the current like Xbox offering is. If you're going to complain about us talking too much about Game Pass, you may as well I complain about us talking too much about the Xbox, because it's all the same thing at this point.
Right.
And it is a wonderful thing. And I'll give you a good example of how like fundamental it is to Xbox at this point, like a real world example. If someone came to you, Parris or Mike, or to myself and said, hey, listen, I'm in the market for a next-gen console, but I'm not going to get both. I just want to get the one, but I don't know which one to get. Should I get a PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S or X or whatever? Like, make the case for PlayStation, make the case for Xbox. I could make the case for PlayStation, but in talking about Xbox, I would start talking about Game Pass almost immediately. It'd probably be the first thing I would mention. Well, the number one thing about Game Pass is Xbox. It has this amazing thing called Game Pass, which is like Netflix for games. Like, you would go straight to it. Like, it probably is the number one reason to have an Xbox as opposed to anything else right now. So I don't apologize for talking about Game Pass and how great it is every week, because it is great. We do love it. This is the Xbox podcast. If there's too much Xbox Game Pass content in this podcast for you, guess what? The warning was on the label. You knew what you were getting into when you clicked play.
I'll add to that and just say, if you think we're talking about Game Pass too much on here, get ready for E3 in June. What do you think Xbox is going to be talking about? They're going to be talking about Game Pass. What is a lot of their big surprise reveals? Everything that they show, what is the last thing you'll probably see to it? Coming to Game Pass. Because they're in the Game Pass business.
Coming to Game Pass.
That's the whole point. That's their business model now. Yes, the traditional model's still there, but they probably would prefer if you subscribe to that service. And again, I take it from the standpoint of a consumer. To me, it's a great deal. Call me whatever you want to call me, say whatever you want to say. I'm similar to you, Gary. It's like, I don't apologize for being excited about something that, at least for right now, is a really good thing. Why wouldn't I be? Why wouldn't you talk about that? That's all. And again, if it's not for you, because it's not for everyone, don't get it. Don't do it. Stick with the traditional model and go spend $30 on Hood and then be mad in a week later. I don't know. It's right. I mean, that's the point. So, we've all made gaming mistakes over the years, and I have plenty of scars. Like what's a game? What's it called? Blast Corps, I believe, way back in the day. Game sucked. I wish I didn't spend the money I did on it, because like you said, I saved up all my pennies to get it, and it was a waste.
I still remember. I can go back 30 years and tell you, like, I still remember dropping like £10 on some Commodore 64 game that still stings me. I wasted money on that. I should have picked the other choice. And like a really recent one, and this will be a controversial choice, but I dropped $100 on the Red Dead Redemption 2 Super Duper Platinum Edition or whatever it was, because I love Red Dead Redemption 1 so much that I was so convinced that I was going to be all in on the sequel that I just prepaid for the mega version.
Right.
But then I hated it. I don't like Red Dead Redemption 2 at all. And that $100 still bugs me. And again, it's the other nice thing about Game Pass is it just takes that sting out of it when you the number of games that I've installed. A lot of games on Game Pass are things that I wouldn't have bought, but I'll try anyway. We talked about that as like the discovery engine of Game Pass, and that's really the number one appeal of it. There have been games that are on Game Pass, but I probably would have bought anyway. And some of them I've liked, and some of them I wouldn't have liked. Or some of them I didn't like. And the ones that I didn't like, I went, oh, well, uninstall, get the hard drive space back, move on to the next thing. As opposed to had I paid money, I'll be on here this week griping about the $50 I wasted. So it's nice to not have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Or the other feeling of the game is not good or you don't like the game. And then Parris saying, do you feel like you have to go get your money's worth? You know what I mean? It's like, that sucks is right. But what doesn't suck is Xbox, and a whole lot of fun here at Xbox, because we're going to be celebrating a little bit in just a couple of moments, but let's jump into it. Here's your quick housekeeping news. Of course, this is the Kind of Funny Xcast. We post each and every Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and on podcast services around the globe. Please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Ring that bell, give us a thumbs up, and of course, I'm going to ask you a question during the podcast. Leave some comments. Let's talk in there down below. Of course, I'd like to thank our Patreon producers, Omega Buster, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, James Hastings, Casey Andrews, Elliot, and Tom Bach. This week, the Kind of Funny Xcast is sponsored by Purple Mattress, HVMN, and Titan. But I'll tell you all about that later. Let's jump right into it, guys. We have some big updates for the month of May coming to your Xbox console. And of course, we got to talk about one of the coolest features over on the Xbox Series X and S, and that's Quick Resume. And we got some improvements coming your way, and they're actually pretty dope. So, a quick update coming from the Xbox blog. With this update, Quick Resume is getting even better with improved reliability and faster load times. We've also made it easier to identify and access games that support and are saved to Quick Resume. You'll be able to see if your current game supports Quick Resume with a new tag, and gamers on Xbox Series X and S can also take advantage of the new group that lists all the games currently saved in Quick Resume. So, guys, we've had the fun conversation of what game is suspended in Quick Resume. I have no idea which is which. I don't know who's in there. It's just the abyss. And all of a sudden you find a game you haven't played in 5 months and it's still in Quick Resume. Well, now they're taking that out of your way. They have a list. It's now available. If you go to My Games and Apps, you can see the list right there. I went and checked it out, and it's really cool to just see those games that are suspended, ready to go for you. And it's really nice now. The question marks are out of the way. You can just click on it, jump right in. So this is something we've all been asking for. Really ease of access. It's nice to see the list finally.
How do you get to that,
available.
Mike? How do you find that list?
So you can do one of two things. Of course, one, go to My Games and Apps. Normally, you'll see all of your games that you have downloaded. You can go down and check out Game Pass games, the games that you own that you can download. And then there's a category called lists that you can actually check out, and they'll have it on your list menu.
Okay,
Gary,
it's one of those lists. All right.
What I encourage for you can pin that list to your homepage, so you'll never lose it. It'll be right there up in the front when you start on your Xbox.
That's a neat feature, and it's going to help us, I think, appreciate quick, because we love quick resume, right? It's another one. It's so magical when we, in the same way that I used to, and I still do enjoy watching that little HDR logo pop up when a game's HDR. When you see quick resume or FPS boost pop up, you go, oh yeah, this is the good stuff. Like, we like that, right? But what is the beyond just like a gimmick or like bragging rights? What is the use case?
What is the use case for quick resume? He's gone. He's back.
Yeah. Oh man.
Let me ask you this.
Hold on, Gary, can you turn on your camera again?
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. That was weird. Okay. All right, I'm back. What is the use case, the practical use case for that list of quick resume games? Because like when I'm thinking about what game I want to play next, it's not like I'm not thinking like what can I be playing in 2 seconds? Like, I'm willing to wait 10 seconds if it's something if I really want to play. Like, is it like I want to play a game, but only something I can be playing immediately? Like, I don't know if we're that impatient. It's nice to see. I just don't know if I'd be looking at a list of quick resume games going, I could be playing this game in 2 seconds, or this game that I would rather play in 20 seconds. I'm going to play the 2-second game. I'm not that impatient. I can wait 20 seconds if it's something I'd rather play. So it's a nice gimmick. I don't know how useful it is.
I think the usefulness is it just being there so right? This quick resume functionality is brand new to us thanks to the Xbox Velocity architecture. And I think a lot of us over these past 6 months have had the question mark of what is in use and what's not in use. And some of these games actually don't even use quick resume, right? We know that not all of these games use it. And so, yeah, I don't think it's a question now with the faster load times, Gary, of like, oh, I'm going to play this game over that game because it loads faster and it's suspended.
Right.
I think it's more like, we've all are starting to practice now. Instead of clicking start and exiting out of a game fully when we're done playing it, we're starting to slowly like, hey, I'm going to suspend this into quick resume and I'll come back to it later. I think it's just one of those of like, hey, now you can find it on this list. The games that are using quick resume. And if you're in the mood to jump right back into it, there it is on the list. It's suspended. It's ready to go for your action.
I think, I want to preface it to say, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I think this is just Microsoft showing off a little bit. It's like, hey, listen, we've got this great feature called Quick Resume. We're now presenting it to you in a way that lets you see just how much it's working and how cool it is. Because I don't think people are necessarily aware. Like I've clicked on a game, to pick up a game that I stopped playing like a couple of weeks ago, and it pops up quick. Oh, quick resume! What a delight! And it's nice when that happens. And you go, oh shit, that game was like being held suspended all that time. So I think now that there's actually a list, you can go, oh wait, hold, really? Like all of these games are in quick resume right now? Let me jump around a bit. Try this one. Try this one. Try this one. And they're all popping up in like 3 seconds. So it's basically just kind of. I really think it's just like a showcase for the feature. I don't think it's super practically useful. It's just them saying, hey, look, this really does work. Look at all these games that are currently suspended. Put it all in one place. It's just a nice little way for them to showcase the feature and show off what they did with that quick resume stuff.
Parris, is it just a flex? Is this list just the flex on people just to let them know, or what do you think about quick resume and this new elevation?
It's 100% a flex because it's just a quality of life feature. It's not mandatory that we have it, but it's great to see that they're listening to the feedback from the community, and it's something that a lot of people have obviously asked about, and they added it in. But yeah, again, kudos to Jason Ronald and that team over there that continue to iterate, on this UI and on the system and give us things that, while you don't have to have them, like Gary's saying, it's nice to have it, though. I don't mind having it. It's a good thing to have. And I'll even add in the fact that they put in the audio pass-through feature for media apps now. Godsend for me, because now when I'm watching something on Netflix or Disney Plus, I can let my receiver decode in Dolby Atmos instead of the Xbox. It's just, again, another quality of life feature. Not that I was necessarily always using my Xbox to watch media apps, but if I just so happen to be on there and I want to watch, I don't know, Avengers Endgame for the 1000th time, excuse me, now I can, and it's going to natively pass the audio through, which, for audio files, again, that's something, a feature people would love to have. Again, don't need it, but it's great that it's there, and it'll be interesting to see what else they're able to cook up that we're not expecting, but is a nice quality of life feature to come.
Yeah, another one I think we weren't expecting on your May updates here is a new theme, but make it two new themes actually. So if you are a fan of the Xbox themes with the cool dynamic backgrounds, which if you have one of these consoles, you probably love these things because they're very cool, they're very unique, and they're a lot of fun. But of course, we had the newest one named Moats come into the fold, and that one was really nice. Kind of like a starry background of different lights popping up in the background is how I describe that. But then Major Nelson teased something pretty cool. And actually, the next day it released, and they're calling it the original, inspired by the original Xbox Home background with the iconic, I don't know the actual name. Me and my friends couldn't figure it out. So I call it the green flubber / floating massive ball. I don't know what you would call that. But now your dynamic theme can be that. The catch is a lot of the dynamic themes use your color, your preferred color. So if you use blue, red, green, purple, whatever, those dynamic themes use that. Of course, this is the original. So you're getting the Xbox screen no matter what on your flubber, which is really, really cool. And something that's really special, right? Because this year, we've all talked about it, we're celebrating 20 years of Xbox. We're looking back at the lineage. We're looking back at all the fun, and we're celebrating new games in the future, right? And so the original is really cool to see that come out and be able to use that as your dynamic background. And one thing I wanted to talk with you guys about is how inspiring that is, how iconic that logo is. And I know we're diehard Xbox fans, right? So you can look back on the lineage and point out different iconic moments in Xbox history that really stand out to the fans and to the team out there. And it was really cool to see our good friend Tim Gettys from Kind of Funny actually post about this on Twitter. And so I'll turn this into the question for you guys. But Tim wrote on the quote, dealing with the original Xbox dynamic theme, he wrote, I love seeing video games mature to a point where even Xbox has a legacy to be nostalgic for in a way formerly reserved for solely Nintendo. It was great seeing PlayStation crossover a few years ago, and I'm excited to see Xbox now enter that realm of reverence and celebration. So, guys, I mean, I celebrate Xbox every single day. I know we celebrate Xbox, and all the fans out there listening celebrate Xbox. And I would be like, yo, Tim, you jabroni, I know all the iconic moments. I know this is special, right? But I wanted to ask you guys, like, what are some of your iconic legacy moments that you really value and look back upon? So, Parris, I'll kick to you because you've told me some great stories about you at awesome events. But, like, what are some of the big iconic Xbox moments that you and fans everywhere identify with?
So I thought about this, and I didn't want to just talk about like events that I went to, other than, and I think I may have said this on the show before. The very first E3 I ever attended was E3 2001, and Xbox, that was their first year there as well. Halo was at the booth, everything that went with that. And just knowing that I had that initial moment with Xbox and Halo, and I didn't really think that much of it. I didn't at the time. I thought, this game's a little buggy. I don't know if this Xbox thing is ever going to work. I'm here for the GameCube. Okay, goodbye. Right? Wind up getting the Xbox at launch anyways. Bought Halo at launch. Didn't play it for a month because I just didn't think that much of it. I was, I'll get Dead or Alive 3. And then one day I decided to pick Halo up and actually sit down and play it. And Truth and Reconciliation literally changed my life. Playing that game on that campaign, playing that, seeing like, oh my God, this is the next evolution of first-person shooters. This can work on a console with a controller in your hand. Starting to do X-Link Kai and playing multiplayer with people I didn't even know from around the world. Sure, it was super laggy, but it didn't matter. It was cool that we were doing it, right? And then that then transforms into, I'll never forget November 9th, I guess, what was that, 2005, whatever year that, what year did Halo 2 come out? Was it 04, I believe? Whatever year, doesn't matter. But the year Halo 2 came out, that from that midnight launch at GameStop, going home, putting that game in and playing all night with my friends. That it's just simply a moment I'll never forget. Just Xbox Live, even when I was in the beta, playing Whacked and Revolt and going, oh my God, I think this online thing could actually work. I remember Lynx 2004. I played Lynx all the time, every night with some really close friends of ours. And it was more of not a competitive game. It was some friends being able to get together over the internet, talk about our day, talk about, our lives, what's going on with our kids as we just casually play golf and just shoot the breeze, right? I remember the Mad World trailer for Gears,
Yes.
and just thinking how, wow, I never thought something like that could hit me the way it did, but it did. Like, I felt a connection to it. Obviously, everything with Halo 3, like, I got to go to the launch up in Bellevue at Best Buy, and the Bungie bus is rolling up, and Bill Gates is there. I got to meet Warren Moon. I mean, these are just these iconic moments. 2005, I went to 0 Hour, which was the launch of the 360, and being in that hangar in Palm Desert for 24 hours, playing all the launch games, got to meet Jay Allard, Peter Moore. I remember Adam Sessler, who was, inspiration to me back at that time with X-Plane and everything, just meeting all these different people, in those settings. But the moments that I'll cherish the most is, again, sitting on my couch with a controller in my hand, having that Xbox Live headset on, and talking with my friends over the internet and playing games and doing things together. Xbox started all that for me. That was the true catalyst. Sure, there was PC like Unreal Tournament and all that before that, but on a console, on your couch, playing with your friends. But if it wasn't for Xbox having the foresight to put that Ethernet port on the back of the original Xbox and take us from 56K modem gaming into broadband gaming, and then everything that Xbox Live became in 02 and beyond, it's just that's it for me. That's something that, like, looking today, that Xbox 20, I instantly flash back to those early days, like the first 5 years of Xbox, and just, to me, how magical all that stuff really was.
Gary, I was having so much fun because I hear Parris talk about that, and I smile because I think of all the favorite moments, right? And then I think of some of the iconic things that I've seen from Xbox, right? We talk about this original startup screen, and we talk about the flubber and the ball starting up and the sound, right? And then another one, I think, is the Xbox 360 startup screen. I think a lot of people forget that for how big that console was, and that startup screen was really special. And then transitioning into the Blades UI, right, Gary? Nobody forgets the Blades UI. That's iconic to me. And then I look over at the new Xbox experience that started in 2008 that changed how those tiles were laid out. Instead of the blades, we went to the tiles. And these are things like, if you've been around with Xbox for those 20 years or less, these moments, right? The Xbox avatar. Think about your avatar. You still have that to this day. I've bought in microtransactions of Colorado Rockies PJ pants and a CU Buffaloes t-shirt. And it's like, I still have my avatar to this day. And I think back and smile on that. I think about Xbox Live arcade games and that bright orange bar right up on the top of them whenever you would see that. And then I think of the Halo theme. And like you brought up, Gary, or Parris, is Gears 1, that Mad World trailer for E-Day. And like, that took over the world. That changed the globe right there. And it never stopped playing. Another iconic one, the Xbox Duke controller. You see this and you just know, right? And shout out to Hyperkin for creating a new one and making it so cool. But like, you see this big old controller and you never will forget the moments you had with Fusion Frenzy, Brute Force, Halo. And it's like, those are the iconic ones to me. And so it was funny seeing Tim's tweet, and it's like, man, I've lived through all of that with this team, and I loved every moment. And there's so many iconic ones to me and the community, and it's cool to share those with each other. So, Gary, I mean, you've been around the block. You've seen the 20 years. Any big moments stand out to you?
Yeah, I thought that that Tim Gettys point that he made was really well observed, and I definitely want to speak to it. First of all, I currently do have the motes flying around on my backdrop. I when I got the little green fireflies, I went and got them right away, and it's kind of cool. I didn't know about the original thing. I guess that came like right after. I just looked at it on a video after and it's perfect, right? It really is the old original Xbox vibe of that kind of pulsing green flubber, and then the whole kind of the Matrix Borg cube background. That's one of the things I still have a fond memory of, is that original startup sound. Sometimes I would just leave the Xbox running in the system menu, because if you remember, it had like really, really cool there's kind of like audible kind of ambience as background chatter, this kind of electronic warble that was going on in the background. And there's a YouTube video you can get of like just 10 hours of it, and I've had it on sometimes just as like ambience in the background, because it's like it just takes me back there. The point I want to make, the point that Tim made that I thought was really good was the notion that he said he was pleased that Xbox now have been around for 20 years. is old enough now and mature enough that there actually is a sense of heritage, right? A sense of history, a sense of legacy. And if you think about it in historical terms, in real world terms, 20 years is not that long, right? It's not, we could go back 20 years, it's not like we've gone back to the olden days or anything, but in technology terms, it is a long time. Think about where we were 20 years ago. 20 years ago, the Dreamcast was still around. And was still like one of the big systems. PlayStation 2 was pretty new. There were, think about the phone you had. It wasn't an iPhone, I promise you that. It was like probably some Nokia brick or something like that, right? The iPod was pretty new. 20 years is a vastly long time in technology and video games and stuff like that. And I do remember very well the original Xbox. I've told this story on the podcast many times before, but I was sent by official Xbox magazine to go to Seattle and sit in an office at Microsoft and play Halo for the first time. And I went in there with my arms folded because I was like, you know what? I come from PC Gamer. I've played PC games all my life. Mouse and keyboard is the only way for a first-person shooter to be viable. I've seen other attempts, people trying to do this on the DualShock. Like console shooters are just not going to work. And an hour later, like the scales had been lifted from my eyes. And I was like, man, they did it. No, it is viable and it does work. And I think Halo doesn't get enough credit for being probably more than any other game, the game that made first-person shooters on console viable.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
It proved the case in a way that it hadn't been proved before. So it was a game changer in that regard. I was a big fan of the Duke. I actually liked it. I never understood the hate for it. Yes, it looks like a big giant cheeseburger, and it's all a bit. It's a bit silly, and some people, thought it was too big for their hands, and they very quickly fixed it. Remember, they brought out the S controller very, very quickly, which I think was meant to, because in Japan nobody liked it, because they wanted a smaller controller there, but we wanted one here as well. And then the S came out, and that ended up being kind of the form factor that then was the real kind of progenitor of the controllers that we have today. But I was a big fan of. I liked the Duke. If they'd have brought that back in a wireless format, I would have been all over it. It's just that one that Hyperkin brought out was wired, so I didn't go for it. But I do love the Duke. I thought it was interesting that in that video that they just put out, where they did like a quick 90-second potted history of the Xbox, you don't expect him to talk about, because we all remember the missteps as well, right? We all remember I don't know. Did he? Let me ask you this: did either of you ever have a console red ring?
Yes.
I didn't. I was lucky. I never did. But people had plenty of them, right? And remember the whole thing where people were wrapping them up in towels?
Yeah.
Whole stuff. It was just crazy. But it was a real problem. They had such a high failure rate, that initial Xbox 360 production run, that you remember for a while there was like, man, like this could be an existential crisis for Microsoft. Like this could be the end of the Xbox. Like people are just going to lose faith in it. But fortunately they did get it right in future hardware revisions. But I remember that Red Ring of Death stuff was rough for a while. I thought it was interesting, of course, in the video, the Connect, what's that? Never heard of it. Again, just not even relegated to a footnote in history. It's just gone. Like Microsoft doesn't even want to acknowledge it.
I'd love to Connect.
Just what a colossal mistake that thing was, and now no one talks about it anymore. There's still a couple of little artifacts of it left, like in the Xbox UI, because they'll never be, it'll never completely go away. But it is essentially to this, again, like people have just, they just want to move on and pretend that it never happened. It's funny that the random things that come back to me, the Parris talking about the Ground Zero thing made me think about this. I wasn't at that event, but I was at the E3 that year where they did the Xbox 360 thing for the first time. And I do remember Jay Allard coming out in his very fashionable kind of hoodie jacket puller, combo thing that he had been dressed in, and he was made to look very kind of stylish and trendy and cool. And I remember him talking about Velocity Girl. Do you remember Velocity Girl? It was this whole thing. It was like this fictional character they created to demonstrate a feature that they said was going to exist in the Xbox ecosystem, and it never came to pass. It was this idea that you could design and sell your own digital merchandise. Like, let's say, for example, you could design, let's say there's like a skateboard game out there where you could design your own skateboard and upload it to the digital marketplace and sell it to other gamers, and actually have this kind of digital eBay e-commerce thing never came to pass. But then he also talked about achievements, which, as we all know, ended up actually being another literal big game changer, right? PlayStation, Steam, almost everyone does achievements now. Oh shit! Is that the E3 one? Oh, that's the 0 hour one.
Yeah, it's from the one from 0
Well,
Hour.
Parris, I'm sure you're not planning to get rid of it. But what I discovered was, because they did a similar one for E3, and I ended up selling mine to a collector for quite a bit of money because I never put a faceplate on mine. I always thought it was a bit silly. I was happy just with the basic one. But for a while there, they really leaned into that trend of having. I remember there was like a wood grain one. There were all kinds of things that you could do. I never was interested in it, and I ended up selling mine to a collector for I think about $150. Because I just didn't want it. But I'd rather someone who will appreciate this let them put it in their collection. But no, I just think it's really interesting that 20 years, and I've been saying for a while now that get ready for a lot of 20-year stuff coming from Microsoft this year. I had said initially, around Halo, because it's the same thing, right? Halo and the original Xbox launched together, so they're both celebrating a 20-year anniversary this year. Once they start getting closer to really marketing Infinite for its holiday release this year, you're going to be hearing a lot of Halo heritage, Halo legacy, 20 years of Halo stuff. But right now, clearly they're already starting the ball rolling on a big kind of year-long year of Luigi. Hopefully better than that, because I thought Luigi got really shafted on that year Luigi bullshit. But 20 years of Xbox, there is real heritage. A whole generation. I think it was Danny Payne who put something up recently where he was like, he went back and showed pictures of him like at the original Xbox launch. Yep. And Xbox, was it maybe Walmart that did a TV commercial earlier this year where it was like the whole life story of a kid.
Yes,
remember like an 8-year-old kid going to get like the original Xbox, and then he's a bit older, he's a teenager getting the 360, then the Xbox One, and now he's a grown up and he's getting the Xbox Series X for him and his kid. And you really do get a sense of, wow, it makes you think about it. In 20 years, in the grand sweep of history, not a long time, but in video game and in tech history, that's a whole epoch. That's a whole era. And we are now in an era where the Xbox does have a genuine legacy, a genuine heritage, four generations deep. And I'm glad it's still around. The other thing, it's the only, someone's going to get me that I'm wrong about this, but the only big successful American-made game console since the original Atari, as far as I'm aware, right? Well, look, what are all the other ones? Sony Japanese, Nintendo Japanese, Sega Japanese, right? The Xbox designed and engineered right here on the best coast to west coast. Built in China, of course, because everything is. But I don't think sometimes it's okay to be a little patriotic about stuff like this in a video game console market that is dominated by all these big Japanese machines. The Xbox is like the great American game console. I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I mean it's 20 years, which is incredible to think time has flown by that quickly, but they're still here. I mean, and they're still doing their thing. And like you said, being an American company, I mean, that's clearly rare in the gaming world right now. But one thing, like Mike, you were showing off the Duke controller. I still have my original one. If I would have remembered, I would have brought it in the room with me. But I still have it. I'll have to show it on the next episode or something like that. But yeah, it's crazy that it has been 20 years and just all the things that have happened with Xbox, the good and the bad, obviously. Like we talk about the Red Ring of Death. I had 2 360s that Red Ring of Death on me, and I seem to remember Peter Moore in an interview talking about he had to go to Steve. Oh my God, why am I forgetting his name? The head
Ballmer.
Ballmer.
Steve
Thank
Ballmer?
you. Yeah, and basically say that this could cost. I think was it $1 billion? What was it? Was it $1 billion? I might be screwing this up, but it was a lot of freaking money. Let's put it that way. And he signed off on it because, kind of like you said, Gary, that could have been the end of Xbox right then and there. I would love to know what the failure rate was for 360s overall. It had to have been the 90 percentile. Everyone I knew had a Red Ring of Death. Gary, you're a unicorn in that way that yours.
I know. I got lucky, and I had like 3 different 360s over the years, and none of them ever red ringed on me.
Yeah, that's wild. But then you obviously talk about Kinect. I was never a fan of it. I just wasn't. I was always skeptical of it. I just felt like they were chasing what Nintendo did with the Wii when they'd have been better served just sticking to
same
to
with
the Play
Sony and the
Network.
Move. They all copied it, and then none of it
Yep.
took off.
Nope, none of it did. But we talk about 20 years and we talk about Halo and everything. I do want to circle back to one thing, because I talked about this online about a week ago, and people have all their opinions, which is fine. But I had said that Halo can't just be okay. Halo Infinite, I'm talking about. It can't just be okay. It has to be great. And if you want to put that into review score numbers, it can't be a 7.5. It's got to be a 9 or above. And I say that as a fan who will be playing Halo Infinite day one, is super excited about it. And I do truly believe they'll stick the landing with this. I do. But I'm saying, just for the sake of this franchise, it can't just be average. It can't be 6 years of development coming off a shaky Halo 5, and then you basically deliver a okay game, an average game. The fact that they're doing this free to play with the multiplayer tells me they have huge plans for multiplayer. This story has to get back to Master Chief and Cortana. They have to emotionally start engaging us again with it. I mean, I think it'll be fine as far as the weapons and the gameplay loop and all that, but make a compelling story that we can all rally behind, right? Give us some multiplayer, whatever these modes are going to be. We can argue BR and all that other stuff, doesn't matter. But this multiplayer has to be engaging. And when I say it's engaging, I'm not saying for me. I'm not saying for me or the already hardcore Halo audience. I go to my kids. It's my son. He does not care about Halo. My oldest daughter does not care about Halo. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying it was never something that was top of mind for them as they've started to grow up and to pick up a controller and start gaming. Their first thought has never been, well, I want to go play Halo. Keeping it frank, their first thought these days is, I'm going to go play Fortnite. I'm going to go play Apex Legends. I'm going to hop on the Call of Duty Warzone. That's just where this next generation has started to lean multiplayer wise. So am I saying that Halo needs to do a battle royale? Nope, I am not. I am saying they have to do something to capture the next generation of gamers. And when I say that, like we talk about the Game Pass analogy, it can't be, oh, I played it. All right, I'm done. Now I'm going to go move on to something else. They're going to want long-term engagement for Halo. And they have to figure this out. They just do. I don't think there is a, well, it's fun. It's fun. Sure, we all want games to be fun. It has to be knock it out of the park fun. It has to be, we're talking about Halo Infinite a year from now, 2 years from now. We're like, man, that new DLC that came out with those new maps, I can't wait to jump in tonight with my buddies and go play that. We need to be having those conversations about Halo. Like you said, Gary, this is the 20-year anniversary, not only of Xbox, but of Halo. So if I was in Xbox leadership, would I really be satisfied with delivering an average Halo on its 20-year anniversary? No, because what did the first Halo do? Like you said, it transformed first-person shooters on a console. And I'm not saying that Halo Infinite has to be revolutionary, but it does need to evolve into something beyond what it has been the past 20 years. Me personally, the last quote-unquote great Halo game was Halo 3 for me, because it nailed the campaign, it nailed the multiplayer. It was something that I would sit at work and go, man, I can't wait to go get home so I can go play Halo. That was the last time I had that feeling. I did like the Halo Reach campaign, but the multiplayer, not so much, the armor lock and all that stuff. Halo 4, it's, your mileage may vary. I enjoyed the story of it. The multiplayer, again, not so much. Complete opposite with Halo 5. I did enjoy the multiplayer, but the campaign, not so much. They got to nail both this time. That's all I'm saying. They have to nail it. It can't be so-so. It has to be great. And I don't know what you guys think about it, but in my opinion, if they can't stick the landing on this, it's going to be a huge disappointment. I don't see any other way around it.
I want to chime in with something before I forget. While we're talking about nostalgia and heritage, 20 years of Xbox, right? How do they celebrate that? I would love, and I know this is a freebie to the people at Mike, because I know that Phil Spencer and some of the others listen. Stick this one in your pipe and smoke it. Here's what I want. 20th anniversary Xbox Series X, at the end of the year, I want it in a scale replica of the OG Xbox case, but it's a Series X, but it looks like the original Xbox. Because if you think about it, the original Xbox, that was a chonker as well. I would have to go away and look at the dimensions, but I don't think the volume of those two boxes is that different. I think you could easily engineer an Xbox Series X into a scale replica of the original 20-year-old Xbox case. Maybe you have a slot loading drive this time, or maybe you don't have a drive at all. Maybe it's all digital. Obviously, the inputs and stuff and everything's going to be different. But the idea of it being that big X with the green jewel in the center, give me a custom startup animation as well that looks like the original one. Give me something like, because again, you're right that we have to bring new people in, and it's all, Halo needs to appeal to the next generation and not just satisfy the diehards. But give it like the three of us who've been around since the beginning. Give us something too. You want to wax on about heritage and nostalgia. Great, give us something to really celebrate that. Videos and stuff are really nice. But I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have something unlike this. But let's see. This would be on my wish list. They would sell out so fast to collectors and stuff like that. Series 20th anniversary Xbox edition Series X, but it looks like the original Xbox case, like the old suitcase design. I would love that, and I think they would sell a ton of them. Let's see. I don't know if they're going to do something. I think there needs to be. I'd love to see some 20th anniversary special edition Xbox hardware. I imagine they're doing something like that. Probably just reskinning the original Xbox. Yeah. But I would love to see them do something a bit more daring. Like bring out an Xbox that looks like take us back to really take me back to that first day. Take me back to 2001, where I've got that big chunky suitcase on my TV cabinet. But it's a Series X. What a cool way that would be to kind of marry the old and the new. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Oh, Gary, I love that idea. I vibe with that, and I love that we all vibe with that. I guess my question would be like devil's advocate here, where we are in the world. We're battling for the chips. We're battling through COVID-19. We're struggling just to get them on the shelves. Do you think this team has the time and the resources to be able to do that by the end of the year?
It's pie in the sky.
You know what I mean?
It would be.
Could we do that? Because it's dope. I want it.
Well, the reality is, if they were going to, the time to just make that decision would have been a year ago, right? It's not like Phil's going to listen to this podcast and like pick up the phone and go, "I want these on the shelf by Christmas." That ships. It's too late for that right now. But no, even if it was just a limited run, even if they made a few thousand of them, and then that become then they sell out even more quickly because they're limited and scarcity makes things more valuable and all of that. I don't know. It's just a cool idea. I like the idea of doing something that would bring the old and the new together. And you can see they're doing it already, like giving you the legacy themes and animations, putting those out. And who knows what they've got planned between now and the end of the year. I do think some 20th anniversary hardware, even with all the supply constraints and all the issues that we're having right now. I mean, you can't even buy a regular Series X right now, let alone a special edition one. I'm just kind of spitballing about the ways in which they could do something really fun to celebrate the anniversary and the idea of kind of marrying the old and the new.
I love that, Gary. Let's take a quick word from our sponsors before we go in depth and some more.
This podcast is brought to you by Purple. As the world becomes increasingly uncomfortable, we're all looking for as much comfort as we can get. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to comfort, Joey Noelle won't stop talking about her Purple mattress. It's soft, it's comfortable, and it keeps her cool when she needs to be cool, and it keeps her warm when she needs to be warm. That's because the one thing you can count on in this uncomfortable world is how comfortable your Purple mattress is. Purple is comfort reinvented. Only Purple has the Grid, a stretchy gel material that's increasingly supportive for your back and legs while cushioning your shoulders, neck, and hips. I don't know how it does it. It's just fantastic. Because of how it's designed, the Grid doesn't trap air. Air actually circulates and flows through it, so you'll never overheat. The Grid bounces back as you move and shift, unlike memory foam, which remembers everything. That's why memory foam has craters and divots. Again, Joey's been using this for a while now. She loves it, still uses it, has no plans to ever change because she loves that Purple mattress. And right now, you can love yours too. You can try your Purple mattress risk-free with free shipping and returns. Financing is available too. Purple really is comfort in an uncomfortable world. Right now, you'll get 10% off any order of $200 or more. Go to purple.com/kindafunny10 and use the promo code kindafunny10. That's purple.com/kindafunny10. Promo code kindafunny10 for 10% off any order of $200 or more. Purple.com/kindafunny10. Promo code kindafunny10. Terms apply. Our next sponsor is HVMN. Trying to lose a little weight, sleep a little better, and not feel so groggy during the day? Health via modern nutrition can help you do all of those things with a few small keto-friendly choices to improve your metabolism throughout the day. The average American consumes around 17 teaspoons of added sugar each day. If you put that into your body today, it's the foundation for who you will become tomorrow. Start reaching your goals by being aware of and cutting out unnecessary sugars from your diet. HVMN is obsessed with helping you reach those goals through modern nutrition, powering your metabolism with less sugar and more ketones. HVMN is a nutrition company that takes the mystery out of counting macros. The results-driven modern nutrition for modern lifestyles with less sugar than competitors. Their products provide lifestyle and habit upgrades that help their customers become healthier and better versions of themselves. By using real organic ingredients, HVMN has made keto and lifestyle improvements easy with healthy and low sugar options that are great for you and deliciously satisfying. HVMN offers single items like MCT oil, keto food bars, and keto collagen powder, or you can grab a kit that includes all the essentials at an everyday discount. The one and only big dog, Kevin Coelho, has decided to try to eat better. He has this on his desk right now. He just started it. They're sending him what he needs. It's getting delivered right to his door. It's super easy. Right, Kevin?
Absolutely. I got the one with all of them in there. And let me tell you, it even comes with a night sleep one called Yawn that I take, and it helps put me to bed. It's better.
Okay. You taking that in the middle of the podcast?
Nope.
Okay. I'm watching you. I'll see if you're napping. I'll catch you. Whether you're curious about keto, want to improve performance, weight loss, or boost brain and body wellness, HVMN will have a non-intimidating solution for you. HVMN is modern nutrition for modern lifestyles, and their new kits make it easy to embrace healthy living and quickly feel the difference. Right now, HVMN is offering our listeners an additional 10% off your first order when you go to hvmn.com/kindafunny. Embrace healthy living today. Go to hvmn.com/kindafunny for 10% off your first order. That's hvmn.com/kindafunny for 10% off today. And the final sponsor of the day is Titan. For far too long, Wall Street has neglected the average investor, giving out the same old generic advice like buy index funds. Meanwhile, for the ultra wealthy, they get access to the premium investment strategies and resources. That divide didn't sit well with Titan, so they built an active investment management platform that's accessible to everyone. Thanks to Titan, now everyday consumers can have their capital invested like a world-class hedge fund. To get started, download the Titan app. There, Titan delivers daily updates, in-depth videos, deep dive reports, podcasts, and more. Titan ensures that clients know the what and the why behind their investments. It's a super simple to use app, super simple design. Tim was telling about the other day. Unlike conventional investing apps, Titan doesn't invest their clients into publicly traded index funds or mutual funds. Instead, Titan has an in-house investment team that actively manages investment strategies designed to outperform the market. Their goal is to compound your wealth on an average of 15% or more annually, which implies the potential of doubling at least every 5 years. Titan manages hundreds of millions of dollars for 25,000 plus clients. With Titan, you get front row seats to your money, helping you become the smartest investor you've ever been. To start investing with Titan today and get 3 months free, visit titanvest.com/kfgames. That's 3 months free of investing for, that's 3 months of investing for free at titanvest.com/kfgames. Titan, first class for your capital.
All right, guys, welcome back. Parris, do we want to stick on this? Because I feel that when you talk about Halo and it being great, I'm not afraid to say it's got to be perfect. Parris, I'm going to be real with you, right? I'm a diehard Halo fan, and me and my friends play Halo more than the next guy, and we are eager to see what this team has in store after what would many be considered, and I'll say it right now, a rocky couple of years and games here with 343 taking over the helm. There's no question about that. It's not what it used to be. And so now here we are in the biggest moment of this game franchise's history. This is going to be do or die right now. This is you either put up and it's perfect, or we have to go back into the cave and we go back into everybody not happy, the game not doing as well as it should have, the franchise taking another hit, and we have to reset. This has been so long since we had Halo 5 to now. And it's one of those, as a Halo fan, this thing should be on and popping year round, right? People should be talking about Halo multiplayer. They should be eager to play that. This story should be incredible. And I'm not afraid to say that Halo needs to be perfect. And another one I'll put on top of that, since you know I'm the multiplayer guy in first-person shooter game, is another game that's coming out, Battlefield 6, or whatever they want to call it. Battlefield also has to be perfect, because now
100%.
we live in a world where Halo and Battlefield weren't relevant and weren't at the top of their games. Now
it's five. The five just screwed up both franchises.
Those two franchises weren't hot and in their prime before Fortnite, Apex, and Call of Duty have absolutely taken over the world. And so now you got to come in and muscle up against some of the biggest games that are in their prime, rolling like nobody else can right now. And you got to come in and make a statement. So both of these games, in my mind, Parris, I'm not afraid to say it, have to be perfect. With campaign to multiplayer, whatever, they better be great and better.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I won't say perfect, because I don't think anything can be perfect. But I just think, again, it's not about you and I. Let's put it there. You, I, and Gary. We're gonna play it regardless. We're in. We're already in. I'm already in November and playing the game. Again, it's people that didn't have the legacy or nostalgia that we do with Halo. They don't care, and that's the point that I keep trying to make. You have to do something to bring Halo back into the spotlight to get people to want to engage with it. Again, this is why I think the free to play is a huge way for that to happen. With it being on multiple platforms via the PC and the cloud, you're going to get people to at least try it, because no harm, no foul type scenario, right? But if they stick whatever the gameplay loop is going to be for the whatever these modes are going to be, they can't just be big team battle and Slayer and, oddball. It can't be the old school stuff. Sure, I want to see those things there, but it's going to have to be something that engages with the new audience. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying this as someone who doesn't like Halo, because I love Halo. I adore Halo. I'm saying it as a fan who wants to see Halo stay relevant for another 20 years. You know what I mean? Because, and again, call me crazy, but if Halo Infinite it turns out to just be an okay game, just okay, I don't think the franchise will ever be relevant again. I really don't. I sincerely mean that, because I think we've reached the point now. This is really what the 8th iteration of Halo we're coming up on now, right? I could be a little off, but the point is, it has a 20-year history now, and I would say the last 10 years, it has not been anywhere near as relevant it was its first 10. It just hasn't been, and they have to do something to capture the next generation of gamers, or people are just going to stick with Apex, they're going to stick with Fortnite, they're going to stick with the things that they're comfortable playing, and they're not going to give Halo a try. And you're spot on, Mike, about Battlefield. I think they're in the same scenario as well. I think Call of Duty has been eating Battlefield's lunch the past few years, and they got to do something too. So I'm excited. Look, June is going to be a day of reckoning for both of those franchises. I am very excited to see what these reveals are going to look like in June, because I think they're very important. I think just like last year when Halo Infinite debuted and we got Craig was a bad image for them, they need a redemption this June. I want to see Craig. I want to see the new Craig. I want to see Craig's cousin Steve, right? I want to see Steve come out and just blow everyone away. And I want to see whatever they do with Battlefield. I want both of these games to have great debuts this June, to get people talking about it, to get us excited about it, instead of just silly memes on the internet, because that's pretty much where we are right now. And they have a lot of damage control to fix that image. So we'll see.
There's another aspect to this whole discussion that we've been having recently about how Halo has to appeal not just to those of us like us who are already in, right? We're all going to play Halo 5 when it comes out. They don't need to sell us on it. Again, the question is, can they sell a new generation for whom Halo may be something that their dad plays? Like how do you make it cool again for them? And there are different ways to approach that, and it has to be a holistic approach. They have to look at every aspect of Halo and figure out, how do we introduce this to a new audience that maybe doesn't know much about Halo, doesn't care, maybe has never even heard of it. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that they're going to be trying to reach for the first time. And we've already talked at length about, on the multiplayer side, how they have to reflect, I think, and adapt to how much the multiplayer landscape has changed since Halo. We took 20 years, right? A long time. Back in the day, when Halo first came out, we were all deathmatch, team deathmatch, capture the flag, maybe one other variant, right? That's basically what we had. Now look at how much everything's changed in an age of Fortnite, Apex Legends, Warzone, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Battle Royale, and all these different ways. The landscape has changed entirely. Totally different multiplayer first-person shooter landscape than when Halo came out 20 years ago. Hey, on the multiplayer side, yes, I think Halo needs to find a way to stay true to its roots, but also adapt to what first-person shooter multiplayer is today, which is something very different to what it was when the franchise started. Maybe less important, but let's not also forget the single-player campaign aspect. As someone who concerns himself with storytelling, this is something I think about a lot. I personally find... And I worked on Halo. I was a consultant on Halo 5 briefly. And I remember telling him at the time, all the lore and the mythology, it's so dense and it's so impenetrable that I think it can be off-putting to a lot of people. There's so much to learn. The Covenant and the Flood and the USN. So there's just so much going on. Like there's like massive, vast, voluminous dictionaries of lore. And sometimes you just want to cut through all of that and just tell a good story. And my worry about some of the prior Halo games is I think they often rely on you knowing so much about the prior Halo lore that can be inaccessible to new players. Well, I hope they've done, if they are taking this holistic approach to introducing Halo to a new audience and onboarding a new generation of players who don't know or care much about it, they have to sell that new audience. Yes, contemporize the multiplayer aspect. On the storytelling aspect, I hope they are telling a story that is a good onboarding point for people that don't know anything about Halo mythology or the previous storytelling. There's obviously a lot of it. Like I said, 8 games, TV shows, movies, all this stuff, the books, comics. There's so much Halo mythology. I'm really, really hoping that this new Halo game, for my own sake, but mostly for new people coming in, I can pick up and play that and feel like I'm being introduced to the Halo universe in a way that doesn't feel exclusive against me. It's like, you don't know who the Forerunners are. Well, this game's not for you. No, you need to explain. You need to find a way to explain all this stuff to me and bring me into your storytelling universe, assuming I know nothing, and do that in a way that is welcoming to me and lets me understand and discover all the cool things about your universe. But this game's going to need to work for people that don't know anything about Halo. If otherwise, I think they're doing themselves a disservice. And again, they can the people for whom that kind of story, that kind of very mythology, lore dense type story is going to appeal. Those people are already getting the game.
Yeah, they need to do something similar to what God of War 2018 did, which is like
right. How do you find a way to reintroduce what is already a very mature, very mythology, very lore-rich, dense game to a new audience who potentially doesn't know any of that and needs to be sold on it in a way that is very accessible and welcoming? And I don't know. I think that's a challenge for them from a storytelling standpoint as well as a multiplayer standpoint.
It's a big deal. I mean, we could go on and on about this, right? Because it is the truth. This is the biggest franchise over at Xbox. This is what people know. When we talk about icons and Xbox 20, you talk Halo, right? And this is a big, big deal because the franchise isn't what it used to be. And now we've had a big stumble last July when we showed this game off. And we went back to the drawing boards and everybody has talked, right? Here we are in this Xcast. We've talked about Halo till the cows have come home. Everybody's talked about that. And my favorite part is Parris hits it on the head. Come June, we're going to have a real big conversation here. Either it blows away the show and everybody's wowed, or we're going to have a different conversation here. But it's going to be pretty wild to see how Halo becomes what it needs to be and returns to form, because we also know Gears of War is taking a little bit of a break, right? We know that Gears now is going to be put on ice as they shift gears and move into Unreal 5, which is the right thing to do. Gears was at the forefront of the Unreal Engine back in the day on 360. And now we know the counterpart, which has always been, you're on Xbox, that means you like Gears and Halo. Well, now the counterpart's going to take a little bit of a break here to get into the next gen. That means Halo really has to carry the torch here for the next couple of years and onward. And so let's talk about Gears right now. The Coalition has come out with a blog post really celebrating what they've done over the year in the pandemic, releasing Gears Tactics, the relaunch of Gears 5 and Gears Tactics on the new hardware, of course, them keeping up with the Gears 5 multiplayer, and one of our favorites, I know you and I loved it, Parris, Gears 5 Hivebusters, which was something really, really special. That was really cool. But they have said, hey, we're going to take a break here and we're going to move all the team and the gameplay into Unreal 5, which is the right thing to do. And they also said they have multiple projects in the works, which all of us got a little excited because maybe it was Star Wars, but it's not Star Wars. They confirmed that on a Reddit post. They said this is not a Star Wars game, but it is exciting to think of what the Coalition is going to do in the future, Parris. I can tell that you're excited too.
Well, no, I'm laughing at the Star Wars thing because the Coalition, the official Coalition Twitter account slapped me down online a few days ago because I was joking around about I want the Coalition to make Star Wars Republic Commando, the Bad Batch. I would love to see something like that. So I jokingly, when they announced this, said that, and the official account was like, "We are not making that game, and we have nothing else to announce at this time." I was like, "Okay, I'm just joking," but it was hilarious. No, I'm with you on that. I'm actually glad they're taking a break. To be honest with you, as much as I love Hive Busters, it's good to have something to miss something. Let's put it that way. I don't want them to just keep pumping out Gears games every couple of years. This natural transition over to UE5 gives them a good excuse to take their time, continue to iterate on the Gears franchise, maybe reinvent it a little bit. So the next time, we see Gears, we'll have missed it for a little bit because it'll been a while, and hopefully it'll be something new and exciting.
Gary, this is pretty exciting, right? At the forefront of Unreal back in the day, bringing 720 graphics. I still remember when we were playing Halo 2 all the time, and then Gears 1 came out, and being so blown away by the look and the running of that game, and just being like, wow, this is what it's going to be next, huh? And like, that was a real shifting point in my gaming career that I'll never forget about, was Gears 1 and what they did with that team and how iconic it was. Are you going to miss Gears for the time being? Did you think, we're going to get Gears anytime soon, Gary, after what we had with Gears 5?
No, I mean, look, it's one of their big central things, right? It's, if you think about what are the big Microsoft game series, like what are the ones that go on the box, when they say this is Xbox, obviously Halo, and then beyond that, Gears and Forza, maybe a couple of others, but those are kind of, I think, I always think of those as like the big three. And I'm excited. I'm more excited. I mean, Gears 5, obviously, excellent game. Really, I didn't play the whole thing, but of what I played, I really enjoyed. I want to do more Horde, actually, Mike. That one time they went back and played Horde, it was really fun. I kind of want to do it again. It was really a lot of fun. But the reason why I'm interested in this new one is it will be the first one, I think, that is the true next-gen title. Gears 5, again, like a lot of games that came out in the past year were those kind of generation-straddling titles, right, where they were not fully able to go nuts on the next gen hardware because they're still thinking about what they're able to what essentially the same game needs to be able to do on the existing now last gen hardware. And when Halo Infinite had that bad demo, a lot of the stuff that came out that was, well, the reason it didn't look great is because we have to make this run on legacy hardware as well, and we've seen this over and over. But now I think now that we're these new consoles are not next gen consoles anymore. They're current gen consoles, and the old ones are the last gen. And I think we're going to get to a point where let's say we see Gears a year from now. I would like to think that'll be a true next gen title. Don't even think about doing an Xbox One version. Just go all in on Series X and Series S, and let's I think it's going to be a while. We see this with every generation. The games that come out at the beginning of a generation, like think about like the best looking PlayStation game at the launch of the PlayStation 4, and compare it to Last of Us 2 that came at the back end, night and day, right? Because in the time that PlayStation 4 was around, those developers learned so much about how to get every last little drop of performance, every shortcut, every trick, how to make that game look amazing. It almost looks like a next gen title, Last of Us Part 2. It's so good. And it takes a while to really kind of learn every trick and every shortcut and really kind of understand how you squeeze every piece of performance out of a system. So we'll start getting there now. The games that we're going to see at the end of the Series X generation are going to look so much better than anything we're seeing now, I believe, because we see this happen every generation. The games get better and better as the hardware, we understand it better. So for that reason, I think there's every reason to believe that whatever the next Gears game is going to look quite a lot better even than Gears 5, even though they're both running on Series X hardware. I would like to think that by the time that game comes out, the previous generation, the Xbox One, will be enough in the rear view that they don't feel like they need to put out a version for that console, and they'll just go all in on the current gen version.
Parris, when they say multiple titles, do you think we'll stay in the Gears universe, or do you think this is like, hey, we're going to make something totally new and different?
I hope it's something totally new and different. Clearly, we're going to get, excuse me, we're going to get a Gear 6, but I would love to see them take a stab at a brand new IP. Let's see what else the studio can do besides just making Gears. If we remember the legacy of the studio, it was Black Tusk. And at the 2013 E3 media event, they showed off like this, what was it, like a spy thriller game? I forget exactly how it went, but it was definitely not Gears, right? So maybe some of those ideas are still floating around in the studio. So it'd be interesting to see if they try some of that.
Yeah, when we first touched on it and we kind of brought up the Star Wars stuff, it was funny. You brought up Bad Batch. I was thinking Star Wars Republic Commando and just having them big tanky dudes hiding behind cover, just like we've seen with Gear. And I thought, oh man, this could be fun. But it will be interesting to see, like, I would love for them to totally drop that. New IP, whole new world, right? Will it just be a third-person cover-based shooter again? Or, like, are we going to see something totally different like you brought up with the Black Tusk? That was a really fun story as well. If you guys haven't read the history on that Black Tusk and, like, what was going on there, that was pretty fun. But it will be cool to see, like, if they just kind of sidestep all of that and make something totally new and different would be a really cool time. But we'll see. Kind of far off in the future. And now we know, right? People were asking, will we see Gears at E3? Most likely not, right? You might see a little operation pack, right, for Gears 5 multiplayer, but you're not going to see anything new and exciting from the Coalition for sure this year.
Let me ask this question. Speaking of Unreal 5, just thinking ahead to E3, do we even see Hellblade 2?
That's a great question. For me, I was going to put my money down on Hellblade 2. Yes, I was going to say we see some form of Hellblade 2, and I thought it would be farther along, like gameplay moments. But I don't know where that team is at. I was going to say yes to that one.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud. The fact that if the Coalition is just now transitioning over to UE5, you would imagine Ninja Theory is probably in a similar boat, right? They can't be that much further ahead. So I just wonder what that means for Hellblade 2 as far as game development goes. I personally thought we might get it next year. Now I wonder. Now maybe not. Maybe it's further out than we expect. So again, June's going to be interesting.
How early do you think they're in development? Because they announced that at like Game Awards 2019 at this point, right? So you imagine they were working on that for a little bit before that announcement. So
right.
You have to imagine the conversations of like, do they think it might be too late to jump over to UE5 and stuff like that?
No, they said they were.
Oh, they are. They were. Oh, gotcha.
They did confirm that. That's what I mean. They did
there's
say
no,
that.
There's no way we're getting that then, because what they showed off on Unreal Engine 5, what was that, last year with that like really cool demo before next gen was like revealed and stuff, and they were saying it like they were gonna start putting it into developers' hands soon. I don't see Hellblade anytime soon then.
Right.
That's the case.
How exciting. And that Unreal Engine 5 looks so cool. Watching back that trailer and what they did with that PlayStation demo, really awesome. So we'll talk more about E3 here in the coming weeks, because we are 1 month away from E3 2021, and we'll have a fun predictions episode. We'll think of what we could see. And of course, we're celebrating Xbox 20. So make sure to leave some comments down below. Let us know what your favorite Xbox memories are. What are those iconic moments that stand out to you when you think Xbox? And let's round out this show with a fun viewer question from the 5-star man. He says, hey, Xcast crew, November marks 20 years of Xbox and Microsoft, and it is already starting the celebration. What do you think will ultimately mean for Xbox this year? We've already got a stacked backwards compatibility roster, the best deal in video games with Xbox Game Pass, and the new Halo coming out maybe around the anniversary date this year. Do you have any pipe dreams about what Microsoft could give to us to celebrate 20 years? Game announcements, merch, etc. My hope would be to reopen the Xbox Design Lab. Gary, you brought up a great idea on putting in the Xbox Series X into the old school Xbox case, which blew my mind, and now I want it, Gary. I don't know if we'll get it, but I want it, Gary. What are some other pipe dreams you'd like for them? Because, like you said, they're going to celebrate this at E3 2021. We're going to celebrate 20 years. So it'll be the big montage. It will be all over the boards. What are some cool pipe dream ideas that you would love for them to bring out?
I wouldn't be at all surprised now I think about it if like a modder or someone at some point kit bashes the guts of an Xbox Series X into just an old Xbox OG case that they find, like maybe like as a homebrew version of it. No, I would love to do it. Love them to do it for real. Design Lab has been away too long. Listen, Sony now is starting to roll out the colored controllers. Microsoft obviously needs to maintain its edge in this crucial segment of the console wars, making sure that we retain the most interesting and colorful controllers. I still need to get that new what's it called, Shock Neon or whatever. What's it called? The green one. I gotta get that
Volt.
one. Electric Volt. I gotta get myself the Electric Volt because I love that color. We do retain the edge. Sony may sell more consoles, but over here in Xbox land, we've still got the more interesting, colorful controllers. And Design Lab was such a great idea, and I understand why it went away is because again the generation switched over. But I am hoping that they haven't forgot about it, and maybe the 20th anniversary. I think they've got big plans. I think in the back half of the year, as we get closer and closer to the actual 20th anniversary date, the day on which the original console and the original Halo dropped, you're gonna see more and more. I'm sure they've got like a big marketing spend. I do think you're probably going to see some anniversary type products. Maybe it's just a controller. Maybe it will be some kind of special edition bundle or reskinned hardware or something. I don't know. But I'm optimistic, and bringing back the Design Lab would be a nice way to celebrate the anniversary, because I want to go in and do my color scheme. I want my what do I want? I want like a yellow and gray controller. That's my color scheme. And yeah, it's been away too long. Bring back Design Lab for sure as part of the 20th anniversary celebrations. But I'm really, really hoping that Microsoft has got something very wacky, whether it's my stupid idea to put one in a replica original Xbox case or something like that. I really do hope they've got like stuff that will help them make a lot of noise over the holiday period. They might still not be able to sell a lot of Xboxes because, again, how are we at this position right now? Well, what is it, May? And you still can't walk into a store and buy a PlayStation or an Xbox. It's outrun. I know there's a chip shortage and there's a pandemic and there's a bunch of shit going down, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. And I think it's going to still be this bad over the holidays. I think it's got a lot of people who are going to want a next gen console are not going to get one, and it sucks.
Parris, what are some pipe dreams that you'd love to see? I mean, you are my Xbox guy, right? Gary has all of the world knowledge. You've been there since day one. Like, what is the pipe dream? What's the one thing where you're like, man, this is a cool celebration moment?
Well, I'm pretty much with Gary that I want Design Labs to come back because I need my Lakers purple and gold controller, number one. I need my Buccaneers red and pewter controller.
Yeah.
And I also need my Padres brown and yellow controller as well. But beyond that, I mean, I just see them doing a lot with this 20-year anniversary as far as just some unique products and some nostalgia things. I think Gary hit on a great idea to take a Series X and basically put it in an OG Xbox shell. I actually think it would probably be the S instead of the X, just due to the cooling and everything potentially that the X seems to need versus what the S has.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, you just want the gimmick, right? I mean, exactly. It's like you might not even power the thing up, but like collectors love to have this kind of stuff.
Yep. They are making more Xbox fridges. I do know that. And it won't be like the ones that they sent us from The Rock. These will be more Xbox centric and do other cool things. So I'm excited to see what that's going to look like. But I don't know other than that. Like I said, I just feel like a lot of things are going to be catered towards this anniversary. And of course, they're going to do some Halo themed stuff as well. It just makes sense. Why wouldn't you? Of course you are. People are going to eat it up. But I'm again with Gary. It sucks that there's not going to be enough consoles this year to meet demand, unfortunately, due to the state of the world. But Xbox did do a cool thing was it for insiders? I forget how it is, but now they have a thing where you can get it directly through them, and it's almost like a waiting queue if you want it. So then when one's available, you'll have the ability to purchase it and not have to worry about scalpers at retail. I'm forgetting exactly how it works top of mind, so apologies to that. But they're definitely doing something within Xbox to help people. I'm pretty sure you got to be an insider. It may be. I could be wrong, but point is they're giving you another avenue to be able to get Series X's and S's as they become available directly through Microsoft.
I love that. I'm going to continue to reach for my pipe dream, which is bring back 1 versus 100. Have Major Nelson host it with some of your favorite Xbox personalities, like my good friend Malik Prince. I'd love to see a lot of that go on, because I think we learned one thing over the year, and that is we come together around video games. And I think something where you can circle your calendar, it's a live event, and it's going down with something we all know and love if you're an Xbox fan, I think would be really, really something cool, something special to try and do. And bring back Fusion Frenzy. Let's bring us all together for a fun party game, because that would be great. So those are my 2 pipe dreams I will continue to bang the drum for, because everybody smiles and loves those ideas. So we'll see where we go.
Well, if we're going down that road, bring back 1 versus 100, obviously, right? That everyone would love to see that come back. But you saying Major Nelson just made me think about something when we talk about nostalgia with Xbox over the 20 years. I used to email Major Nelson, Larry Herb. I used to email him back in the early days of Xbox and just ask probably some really dumb questions, thinking about it now, but he would respond and answer them over email back in those early days. He probably doesn't even remember that, but that's just how new Xbox was and how brand all this stuff with the internet was. I literally would, I'm sure now that's an impossibility. There's no way he could answer things with the demand I'm sure he gets. But yeah, I would say back in like 02, 03 up in there somewhere, I'd be like, hey, Major Nelson, do you this, that, or whatever? And he would respond and answer it. I even remember more specifically, it was the lead up to the 360. I had like technical questions about stuff because, you know, it was going to be an HD console with 720p. And I was asking all these questions and he would answer them. So just another cool legacy thing.
I love that. I love seeing his face. I love hearing his voice. And I love all of that crew over there, because they are so special to me and the Xbox community. And it's like they built that over the 20 years, and it's really fun to celebrate. And we're going to celebrate a lot this year, right? At E3, we'll celebrate it, and then we're going to celebrate it on the anniversary date. So you best believe Xbox 20 is going to be all over the timelines. Make sure you share your favorite moments. Share with us the most iconic Xbox moments. And gosh darn it, try out that new dynamic theme background, because it's very cool. And I think you're really going to like it when you turn on your Xbox. But enough of all that. It's time to get out of here. Another great episode for your weekend. Want to thank my 2 guys for turning back on and hanging out with me. Parris, what awesome stuff are you doing this weekend? And where can I find you, Commander Shepard?
You can find me on the Citadel, soldier, of course. You can find me Twitter, Vicious696, obviously on Kind of Funny and Gamertag Radio, and my YouTube channel, which is my name, PARRIS, and I actually have a preview up of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, because, you know, those Sony fanboys, you know, on PlayStation I Love You, I had to go do my own, you know, to celebrate that. Which, by the way, can I say, if there's one request that I would love Xbox to be able to do with a game, I would love, I won't even say Banjo-Kazooie, but they need, I want to see a kid-friendly platformer. That's it.
Just say Banjo. Just give
okay,
us,
I'll say it.
We deserve
Banjo-Kazooie.
I'm glad you got it in at the end there, Parris. We almost did a podcast without mentioning Banjo. Crept in under the wire there.
Right at the last minute. No, but that'll be me this week, and playing a lot of Mass Effect 2, obviously.
Heck yeah, I can't wait to catch up next week and talk about where we're all at, because that's going to be really, really something special. And actually, great job on your Ratchet and Clank video. I watched that. I loved that. And very, very cool. I'm super excited about that game, because, you know, I love those mascot platformers, those family-friendly platformers. Hit me right where I want to play. Now, Gary Whitta, I've missed you. What are you going to be playing this week, and where can we find you?
I've missed you too, Mike. And so far as the weekend's concerned, my backlog is a joke, but I have at least managed to triage it a little bit, and I've got a top tier of games that are all. I've worked it down to a short list for the games that are next going to compete for my attention. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Hitman 3, which I got to get to. Judgment, which, you know, I love the Yakuza games. It's a Yakuza spin-off. I think I could really enjoy it. And I think, what was the last? Oh, Resident Evil 8, which I do think we're actually going to start maybe as early as tonight. So, that's the short list. And I'm going to make a real effort to dive into one of those this weekend. I just don't know what it's going to be. It's an embarrassment of riches. Like, honestly, there's just too many good games out there. There aren't enough hours in the day.
There never is, Gary. There never is enough hours in the day to do everything we want. But you know what? I'm glad that you're attacking the backlog and you're making some time to game, because I know you're working so hard. And since you brought up Hitman 3, I'm not even going to tell you what I'm doing or what's happening in my life because I want to go give the spotlight to our good friend, Khalif Adams from Spawn on Me, because our good guy, Khalif, is actually making sponsored special contracts for Hitman 3, just like we did here at Kinda Funny. So if you want to see what Khalif is cooking up, or maybe, not well cooking, you can go check him out over at Spawn on Me. You can check him out at his Twitter page and get ready for his awesome featured contracts with Hitman 3. So that is where I want you to go check it out. That's where I want you to go see. And on behalf of myself, Gary Whitta, Parris Lilly, and Bear Courtney on the ones and twos, and all of the Kinda Funny family, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us. Thanks for listening to the Xcast. Go out and enjoy your weekend. Play a bunch of video games. And we'll catch you back here next week to talk more Xbox. Peace.